Hello everyone. Today we are excited to present our project on big data analytics for global terrorism, where we analyze patterns, trends, and key insights from the Global Terrorism Database. As part of this study, we explored decades of data to identify how terrorist activities have evolved over time, where they are most prevalent, and the methods attackers frequently use. We are group number one. We will take you through research methodologies, findings, and challenges while keeping it engaging and informative. Let's begin by understanding why this study matters.
Terrorism remains one of the most pressing global challenges. It has reshaped security policies, international relations, and even everyday life in many parts of the world. But how has terrorism evolved? Which regions suffer the most? Are there common patterns in the method used? These are some of the critical questions we aim to answer. Understanding terrorism trends helps governments, security agencies, and researchers anticipate threats and design better counterterrorism strategies. Our study dives deep into historical data to uncover meaningful insights that could contribute to these efforts. Now that we know why this research is important, let's look at how we approach it. To ensure a structured approach, we followed a data-driven methodology. We start by collecting data from the Global Terrorism Database, which is collection of data on over 200,000 terrorists, including date, location, tactics, casualties, perpetrators, and much more from 1970 to 2021. We then clean and pre-process data, handling missing values and understanding formats. After that, we use exploratory data analysis to identify trends, patterns, and anomalies. Finally, we visualize our findings, use graphs and charts to communicate the insights effectively. But what tools and technologies made this possible? Let's find out.
For a dataset this large, traditional data processing methods wouldn't be efficient. We initially tried PySpark, but due to integration issues with MongoDB, we switched to Dask, which provided better scalability and efficiency for our needs. We also use Matplotlib and Seaborn for data visualization, ensuring that our findings were easy to interpret. Our work was done in Python using Jupyter Notebook, making it flexible and interactive environment for analysis. Before diving into the findings, let's briefly discuss the crucial step of preparing the data. Working with real-world data is never straightforward. The dataset had incomplete records, missing values, and inconsistencies. To improve its usability, we first analyze which columns contain excessive missing data. We decided to drop columns that had over 10,000 missing values since they were unreliable. Next, we standardize data formats, categorize attack types and target groups, and ensure numerical data was properly formatted. This step was essential because poor quality data can lead to misleading insights. With a clean dataset, we were ready to uncover interesting trends. As we analyzed the trends in global terrorism over the years, a clear pattern emerged. Between 1990 and 2003, terrorist attacks remained relatively stable, fluctuations but no more spikes. However, in 2004, we noticed the beginning of a significant upward trend, making a shift in global terrorism dynamics. From this point onward, attacks started to rise steadily. The most alarming period came between 2010 and 2015, when the numbers of incidents skyrocketed, reaching a peak of 16,960 attacks in 2014, the highest on record. This drastic increase coincides with the rise of extremist groups like ISIS, as well as political instability in the Middle East and other regions. However, after 2017, we observed a gradual decline in attacks. By 2021, the number of incidents had fallen to 4,960, less than a third of the peak in 2014. This decline can be attributed to various factors, including improved counterterrorism strategies, military interventions, and policy changes in several countries. It's also worth noticing that the COVID-19 pandemic may have played a role in reducing large-scale attacks due to lockdowns and movement restrictions. The key takeaway from this trend analysis is that terrorism escalates during periods of global unrest and weak governance, and it declines when effective countermeasures are implemented. This insight is crucial for policymakers aiming to prevent future surges in terrorism. But where are these attacks happen in most frequently? Let's explore that next. When we examine where these attacks were happening the most, some clear hotspots emerge. Iraq records the highest number of terrorist incidents with a staggering 28,032 attacks. This aligns with the presence of groups like ISIS, which were particularly active in country between the 2010s. Afghanistan followed with 20,347 attacks, largely due to Taliban activity. Other high-risk countries include Pakistan, India, and Philippines. These regions have faced long-standing insurgencies and extremist movements, such as Pakistani Taliban and Abu Sayyaf in Philippines. Additionally, we identified hotspots in Yemen, Nigeria, Colombia, Somalia, and Thailand, where local conflicts and militant groups contribute to high levels of terrorism. In Nigeria, for example, Boko Haram has been responsible for thousands of attacks, primarily targeting civilians. What's interesting is that most of these countries have experienced prolonged political instability, civil wars, or weak law enforcement, making them vulnerable to terrorist activities. This highlights the importance of strengthening national security and regional cooperation to combat terrorism effectively. Now that we know where terrorism is concentrated, let's examine how these attacks are carried out and who is targeted. By far, the most common attack method was bombings and explosions, which accounted for 81,532 incidents. This is not surprising, as bombings allow terrorists to inflict maximum casualties with minimum risk to themselves. They are often used in crowded public places, government buildings, and transportation hubs. The second most frequent type was armed assaults, with 41,719 attacks. This involved direct gunfire, often targeting security forces or civilians. Assassinations were also widely used, typically targeting political figures, journalists, and activists. Interestingly, kidnapping is another strategy frequently employed by terrorist groups. Kidnappings were often used for ransom or political leverage, while barricade incidents and hijackings, though less common, pose serious security threats. Attacks on critical infrastructure also stood out. These target essential services like power stations, transportation networks, and communication systems, aiming to disrupt economic and social stability. This breakdown reveals that terrorist groups prioritize attacks methods that maximize destruction and fear while minimizing their exposure to law enforcement. It also shows that counterterrorism efforts should focus on securing public spaces and infrastructure while improving intelligence on planned attacks. Weapons play a crucial role in attack patterns. Understanding the weapons used in terrorist attacks provides further insights to their strategies and capabilities. Our analysis revealed that explosives were by far the most commonly used weapon, accounting for nearly 100,000 attacks. This aligns with the high frequency of bombings and explosions. Improvised explosive devices, car bombs, and suicide bombings are widely used due to their devastating impact and ease of deployment. Firearms were the second most used weapon, responsible for approximately 70,000 attacks. Assault rifles, machine guns, and pistols were frequently used in armed assaults and assassinations, highlighting the importance of controlling illegal arms trafficking to curb terrorist activities. Although chemical weapons were relatively rare, their impact is extremely concerning. Attacks involving chemical agents have the potential for mass casualties and long-term environmental damage. Even though they are not widely used, their presence poses a significant biosecurity threat that should not be ignored. From these findings, it's clear that terrorist groups prefer weapons that are easily accessible, cost-effective, and capable of causing widespread damage. Strengthening border security, monitoring arms trade, and restricting access to bomb-making materials can play a crucial role in reducing the effectiveness of terrorist attacks.
So, what do all these findings tell us? Firstly, terrorist activities have become more frequent over time, with specific peak linked to major geopolitical events. Secondly, some regions suffer far more than others, emphasizing the needs for region-specific counterterrorism strategies. Thirdly, bombings and firearms are most preferred tasks attacks methods, which means security agencies must enhance bomb detection and arms control effect. Understanding these patterns allows policymakers and security experts to proactively design interventions rather than merely reacting to attacks. The project wasn't without challenge. The first hurdle was data quality. Many records had missing or inconsistent values. Cleaning and structuring the dataset took considerable effort. Secondly, technical difficulties arose when trying to integrate PySpark with MongoDB. This led us to switch to Dask, which turned out to be more efficient for our needs. Lastly, given the dataset's large size, performance optimizations was necessary to handle computations effectively. Through these challenges, we learned valuable lessons. We discovered that choosing the right technologies is crucial for big data analytics. Dask performed expectationally well for our distributed data processing needs. We also realized that data pre-processing is just as important as analytics. Without properly structured data, even the most powerful algorithms would yield unreliable results. And finally, visualization is key. A well-designed graph can be communicate insight far more effectively than raw numbers ever could. While we gain many insights, there's room for future improvements. One idea is to apply machine learning to predict potential terrorist hotspots based on past data. Another approach could be to incorporate socio-economic data to examine possible causal relationships between economic conditions and terrorism rates. Additionally, creating interactive dashboards could allow security agencies to
Right.
monitor real-time trends. That conclude our presentation. We have explored key trends in global terrorism, identify high-risk regions, analyze attack methods, and examine the weapons used in these incidents. Understanding these patterns is crucial for developing effectively counterterrorism strategies. We appreciate your time and we hope our findings have provide valuable insights. Now, we would love to hear from you. Do you have any questions or thoughts you would like to comment? We are happy to discuss any aspects of our analysis. Thank you.